Ryan Jarrell here for Fight Bananas, and you can see my next guest back in action February the 15th at UFC Vegas 102 when he takes on Nikolay Veretennikov. And of course, it is Billy Goff on the show. Billy, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm good, man. Nice to see you again. And it has been
Well,
way too long since we've seen you in action. May was the last time you fought, man. I have to imagine you want to get back in there a little bit sooner than now. Any particular reason for the layoff?
so I mean, I've been asking for a fight since August. Um, because I was May. I took a little bit of time, relaxed a little bit, but then I started asking for fights in August. Probably could have asked a little sooner, but that's when I got back in shape. So I don't like asking for fights while I'm out of shape. Um, but and then it's just they didn't have any fights. The only fight I got offered was Renat, um, fucking
Fakradinov?
yeah, in Abu Dhabi on short notice, and it was just the money wasn't right, and I was like, I'm not going to take a short notice fight against a good opponent in his hometown for not enough money. So I was just like, whatever. Um, and that was the only thing I got offered. Until Nicolay.
Yeah, sometimes those short notice fights, yeah, like the benefits are good if you do come in and you get a win, but a lot of times the odds seem like they're stacked against you, right? When you're taking these short notice fights in someone else's hometown against a monster.
Yeah, and I would love to fight him, because I think I beat him. The but like when it comes to like which fights I take and whatnot, I leave that all up to my coach. And my coach was like, "Well, are we gonna be a world champion, or are we just gonna be the guy who takes every fight that they offer us?" And he's like, "Yeah, like I don't want to take this one. Like it's not worth it."
Smart man, especially like your stock has risen a lot after that fight with Trey Waters. Even though I guess technically you lost, man. A lot of people felt like you did enough to get your hand raised. Like, have you noticed just a big uptick in like your popularity since that fight?
Absolutely. I get people who still reach out to me and tell me that I won that fight. Um, and I've definitely gotten I gained several thousand followers on Instagram from it, which I was the only one who gained followers from that fight. Uh, the which is That's a little bit of shade. The and I think it's because it's evident as to like, yeah, that was a fight of the night. We both fought hard. Um, but why was the fight like that? Like who made the fight like that? Who made it into a dog fight? And that, yes, it takes two to tango, but if I'm setting the pace, you gotta keep up with me.
I mean, I think you're quickly becoming a fan favorite to watch compete because your style is very fan friendly. You brought it to Trey throughout the duration of the 15 minutes. What do you feel like you learned from that fight? Anything like you can dissect to say I could have done this better, I should have done that?
Well, I mean, the general performance overall, I fought like shit in my eyes. I fought sloppy. I was gassed in the first round. Um, the and I wasn't listening to my coaches. I wasn't listening to the game plan. I would say the biggest like technique takeaway from that is when like you need to be able to slow down. You need to be able to slow down. You got to be able to, no matter how you feel physically, mentally, no matter what kind of day it is, you have to be able to lock in and focus and listen to your coaches and do and fight smart, which I wasn't doing. Um, and that's like if I want to be a world champion someday, that's what I got to fix.
230 to 27s from the judges. That's kind of crazy, right? Sal Diamato and David Hewitt, I think, are the two judges that had it 30-27 for Trey. Like, what were your thoughts on that? I mean, how did you feel going into the third round? It's pretty darn close.
I wasn't even thinking about it like that. I didn't think about it until the end of the fight, and I thought I didn't like because like in the fight, I just wanted the fight to be over with. I was just like this, like I was like this fucking. I'm not having fun right now. And it wasn't because of the fight, like it wasn't because it was a dog fight or anything. Like it wasn't because like I was hurting or anything. It was just like I'd like this isn't the day to do this.
Mhm.
Um, And um, but when the fight ended, and I went over and talked to Michael Bisping, and I was like, how's that look, and or something, and he was like, he said he doesn't know, but I was up on strikes like substantially for total strikes. So I was like, okay, like that makes sense. Like so then I won. Like that's what I thought. Like oh okay, so I won. I'm up on strikes. I took him down. I was pushing him around and whatnot. So I won. Um, so I was kind of like okay, the judges, and then going back and watching the fight. Then it's like okay yes I did win, that's ridiculous. And like I understand certain rounds um maybe, and I understand some people saying oh he had more effective striking because he would hit me when I would come in, and he would hit me as I was leaving, or if he left. So he would hit once, I'd hit him a few times, and then he would hit once. So I'd be hitting more, but he would hit on the entrance, on the exit. So it looks like he's winning the exchange.
Mhm.
When I'm landing more, I'm doing more. The and I know it's like and like for damage, I look like I took more damage, but only one of us needed surgery afterwards. Um, and I like I was fine. I shouldn't have been, but I was sparring 2 weeks later.
Oh,
Um, like I was good. The So it was I don't know. It's looking back in the moment, I was just kind of like oh that sucks. Um, but looking back at it, it's like damn, yeah, I should have won that. It was close. I understand why it's close, regardless. But yeah, I should have won that.
so you were never in any real danger of being like finished throughout that fight, right? Like you felt like you had your wits about you through the duration.
Yeah, I was never rocked or anything. I know there was one where it looked like I got dropped to a knee. I don't remember like I didn't register any type of like oh I'm rocked. I like the way that I look at it, it looks more like a slip. Um, but it's neither here nor there. And like for the submission, the guillotine. The only reason I sat in that guillotine as long as I did was because I was just being lazy. I was tired.
Yeah. Well,
Uh, uh, the So it was just. I mean, like I never felt like I was in danger. I felt like I was fighting poorly. Like I felt this is this is shittier than it needs to be. Like
mhm.
I and it was just because I was not listening to my corners, and I could hear them too. Like they kept telling me to stop throwing big kicks. They told me to stop trying to lift them, and I couldn't listen. I just couldn't tell my body to. My body just wanted to keep going and keep throwing big kicks, and I think it's because at certain moments during the camp when I was doing cardio or when I was doing wall work, um, I had thoughts like, all right, like I'm throwing all these big kicks, so I can throw kicks the whole time if I had to. Like I'm not like I'm going to be able to do this the whole time. Um, then and for the takedowns, like I had this idea in my head, like all right, this isn't. I didn't want to go for the lift. The lift wasn't part of the game plan. The game plan was for just like a single leg, a body lock on the cage. Um, but I had this game, like all right, if I can't get those, I've always got this lift in my back pocket, which I'm good at. But if I go straight to the lift, it doesn't really work out. And he's really tall, and so it's just, and I just couldn't get away from that lift. And I think it's because I didn't like I was gassed from the
Mhm.
rip.
Well, I mean, you clearly expended a lot of energy throughout that fight, bringing the fight to him. And if I remember correctly, too, Billy, he was rather dismissive of you and just the matchup in general leading up to the fight. He basically said that he thought he was going to do what he wanted in there against you. Did that add like? Did you see all that, and did it add like a chip on your shoulder going into the fight? Maybe why you pushed it even harder.
No, I just like okay, like you don't know what you're talking about, bud. Like if you look at me as a fighter and think that it's going to be an easy fight ever again, you just don't know what you're talking about. Like you just first of all, I'm a fucking dog. Just I always bring like that like the fight that him and I had. That's a bad day in the office. Like I performed poorly against you. So imagine if I was on my shit. Um and like I hope to get that one back one day. I want to rematch him. Uh, but we'll see what happens down the line. Um, but no, I wasn't like, I didn't really care. I was just like, okay, you're underestimating me. And I mean, because like, I was kind of in the same thought. I don't publicly talk about it because I feel like it's rude. But like, I thought, and I still do, like, I am better than you. Like, I'm ahead of you. But it's like, yeah, I can see where, but I like, it's not just like he would say, oh, there's nothing special about him. I remember him saying that, which is just like, okay, like my striking's good, my grappling's good, my footwork's good. You can look at it and say like, yeah, I have bad performances, or like I make some mistakes here and there. Sometimes I drop my hands, I'm a little sloppy, um, but I'm also a young fighter. But like I can watch his fights and like he crosses his feet all the time, and like all he throws just hands. Like he doesn't throw a whole lot of kicks, doesn't grapple a whole lot, and he relies primarily on his height. Which listen, it's gotten you this far, dude, and you're listen. We had a close fight with it, so I'm not knocking it. The But as fighters, I mean, we think we're the best in the world, and you gotta. So I don't take it personal.
Okay. Yeah, a good mindset to have. And yeah, clearly you should think that going into every fight, especially the level you're at right now. One last thing about the fight with Trey. How close do you think you were to finishing him? Because it seemed like there were a couple of times throughout the fight where, man, like one little second here or there, one it felt like it was close. Is that accurate to say, or do you think that maybe that wasn't the case?
In a couple moments, I feel like a finish could have happened, but I don't think he was like out of it. Like I don't think because I mean I didn't drop him at all. The the rear naked could have been close had I secured control instead. The the that front snap kick, had I not hit with my toes, had I caught him with the ball of my foot, I bet that would have I could have put him out with that. Um, the And then there was a couple moments where I hit him with an elbow, and then another one where I hit him with a hook, where he really didn't like it, um, and he kind of like turned away from me and started running away. To where I feel like in those moments, had I been a little more like I had the energy and wits about me, to corral him and keep him on the cage, I could have found a finish, but I don't think I was like one punch away from it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, geez, man, I hope from a, like a fan perspective, I hope we do see that rematch down the line. I know that's one the fans would love to see, and you mentioned you'd love to get that one and run it back. You said you took some time off after the fight and just kind of relax, and rightfully so. But what did you do? What was life like post that Waters fight?
The first few weeks was pretty sad. I was pretty bummed out. Just kind of like, all right, let's go to work and let's get like ease back into training. Um, I wasn't as sad as I have been in the past because I could say, oh, that was a robbery. Uh, the but it was mostly just working. Um, Working. I worked from home. um, and I just hung out with my girlfriend. Um, I eased my way back into training, got a little fat, um, and played a lot of video games.
Okay. When you say you got
Spent the money, spent the fight money.
50 G's, man, that's a nice little chunk of change to win for fight of the night. When you say you got a little fat, right? Like that's, you mean, I'm sure you didn't get fat, but like how heavy did you get? Like when you get out of shape, how big do you get?
The heaviest I've ever been, which was like it was only for one day, and it was like I was like eating a lot that day, so it was mostly just bloated. I was 210, but that's not normal. I normally when I'm out of camp and I'm not really training all that much, just eating whatever, I get up to like 200, a little
Okay.
over 200.
That's kind of normal, right? For welterweights in the UFC.
I would imagine. I feel like some don't. Like Colby probably doesn't. But I think he's a little bit of a smaller welterweight. But like Kamar Usman, yeah, I bet that dude gets even bigger than 200.
Yeah, he's a big boy. What do you and your girlfriend like to do? Like, depending on the time of year, what kind of hobbies do you guys have?
All year round we go on hikes. She likes hiking a lot, and I tag along, and I enjoy it. Um, that she painting. I've been getting her into One Piece, slowly but surely, watching all of it. Uh, um, we're trying to find a video game to play right now, like those two, like those two-player games that a
Yeah.
lot of people couples play. I'm trying to find one because I like playing video games. So, and she doesn't want to sit next to me and do something while I play Fortnite because the sounds of Fortnite are annoying to her. Um, so I'm trying to find a game that we can play. Um, but um, One Piece, painting, um, and then going on hikes. I would say we do a lot of, and we like going to the grocery store together. Going to the grocery store, and getting sushi.
Okay, all good things. I think if you like hiking, you guys got to come up to my area sometime up in Maine. There's all kinds of places that are just beautiful hikes. Come around fall time. You're a New England guy, you know how it is.
Yeah.
There's
Oh yeah.
so much that you can see.
I went up there once with her. We go. I got a truck tent, so that we could go like just go find somewhere, pop open the tent, and go camp. Took it down to Tennessee for Bonnaroo. But we went up to Maine, um, last winter, I think. And we went to go stay at this campsite. Oh no, it wasn't in winter. It was spring, I think. Um, and the first day we got there, I didn't have the truck tent at this point. I just had a tent that I put in my truck. And it was pouring rain. It was miserable. Everything got wet. So I was like, screw this. Let's go get an Airbnb.
Sometimes you just got to adapt and
Yeah.
make some changes, right?
But it's a lovely place up there. I go snowboarding. I haven't been snowboarding up there yet, but I want to.
Yeah, man. If you come up to Maine in the future, definitely let me know. There's all kinds of places up my way that I'm sure you guys would love to visit and spend some time at. Before we transition back to this upcoming fight and just camp and everything, I wanted to get your thoughts just on the welterweight division as a whole. Right now, Bilal is the champion. He had that nasty injury slash surgery that he had, which canceled the fight with Shavkat. Do you feel like Shavkat is still like the boogeyman of the division? Is he ultimately going to be the champion, or do you feel like Bilal could beat him?
Um, I don't think Bilal will beat him, but he could beat him. Um, I think watching Shavkat struggle physically, like to get Ian Gary down, because Ian Gary doesn't seem like a very strong welterweight, and Bilal seems like a very strong welterweight. So seeing him struggle physically with Ian Gary, which could have just been technique, because Ian Gary has good takedown defense, and he did take him down eventually when he started going to the legs. But to see him struggle with him as much as he did, I don't think it kind of just lowered his stock. He's not like I don't look at him as a boogeyman anymore. And in the first place, I never really looked at him as someone who was untouchable. Because in his past fights, I like when he fought Jeff Neal,
Yeah.
I looked at him as just like, oh, you don't move your head off the center. Like he leans away and he blocks with his hands a lot, but he doesn't slip and he doesn't move his head a lot. So it's like, all right, you can get hit, so you can get put out. However, Bilal sucks at striking, so Bilal's not going to put you out. And Shavkat's good at striking. He looked better against Ian Gary striking than I think he has um, at all in the past. Um, but his grappling didn't look as good. So I think if that's an indication of where his grappling's at, I think Bilal can out grapple him.
Should be an interesting fight if and when that does happen. As far as like some of these guys that are big prospects climbing the 15 top 15 of the division right now, guys like Michael Morales, Carlos Prates, who do you feel like is the most dangerous young guy that's in that top 15 right now?
Um, I would. Are you including JDM in that?
Well, I was going to ask you about JDM and Leon because their fight is booked here shortly. So I guess JDM is already an established contender, right? Like he's
Yep.
top five. So when I say like guys on the come up, Michael Morales, Carlos Prates, Brian Battle, those are some of the guys that are like on the back end of that top 15 that are still super young like yourself that are getting a lot of buzz. I'm just curious who you think is the best out of like those guys.
I would say Michael Morales. I think Prates. I think Prates is really tough, and I think he's got great striking. I haven't seen his grappling enough, um, but I don't think his striking is as good as Morales's. And I would bet that his grappling isn't either. But I think Prates is tougher than Morales. I think Morales is a better, like the best out of them, technique wise, skill wise. Um, but I don't know. It's it's hard to know what goes on in a fighter's head when you're not them and you're not in the cage with them. Um, but I was watching Fugit versus Morales, and that looked like Morales was kind of not quitting on himself, but just kind of dogging it. Um, and sometimes people do. I mean, people. I've fought lazy, so it's not necessarily an indicator of anything. Um, but if he were to do that against Prates, I think Prates would beat him. Um, but Morales is better technically.
You see
I
that
think.
thing?
What are you saying?
You see that thing about Prates smoking cigarettes? Like,
It's
do,
fucking yeah, dude. I don't understand that. It's gross. It's gross, but it's also like, okay, that's kind of like that's tough, dude. What the fuck? You smoking cigarettes and being a fighter? That's wild.
it blows my mind. Like you guys have to be in like supreme condition, smoking cigarettes, especially when you get to the level that you're at. I mean, there's nothing good about it, right? So why it blows my mind that someone is an active UFC fighter, like a ranked guy that's doing that.
Well, it's just, I mean, whether it's for show, whether it's like him trying to look cool or whatever, I don't fucking know. Um, but it certainly has a nonchalant, kind of blase, I don't give a shit, kind of feel to it, which is helpful for a lot of guys. A lot of guys, I mean, it keeps the anxiety away. They're just like, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, interesting. Well, Leon and JDM, what's your pick on that one?
JDM. I think Leon could beat him if he showed up, but Leon folds. Um, and I don't think JDM will. He's hungry. He's hungry
Mm.
as fuck. Um, the but I think Leon is a better. I think he's one. He's more seasoned. He's been around the game longer. But I also just think he's better. I think he's got better striking and better grappling as a whole, all well rounded. But JDM is very good, and they're so close that if Leon doesn't keep the pressure on, that he's like if he has a mental lapse in there, he's gonna get put out.
It's gonna be a fun one to watch. Can't wait, man. Let's talk a little bit about your preparations, getting ready for UFC Vegas 102. How has this camp been? Who have you had to, I guess, give you the looks that Nicolay is going to present?
My teammates, Austin, Shala, Jake Kasky, Jared Sweet, Eric Zane, Randy Francis. They only a couple of them are about his height. But it is what it is. A couple inches here and there doesn't really matter. He's only 6'1", 6'2", whatever the fuck he is. Um, the and it's more like just studying him. All right, he does this, he does that. Be aware of this. Hey guys, throw a lot of these. The the thing is though, and I didn't say anything before the interview. I am not fighting on that card anymore. Um, yeah, I don't. They haven't really said it. So I don't think the UFC's posted about it, but they posted the fight card, and I'm not on it. But it's because he pulled out. So yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
so
There
wait a
you go.
second. When did this happen?
Last week. Yeah.
Okay, so the Nicolay fight is not happening.
No, it's not. Sorry. But there is another one on the table that isn't confirmed yet, but I said yes. It's the week after, in Seattle.
Okay, UFC Seattle. That's a great one to be on. Would you prefer to be on that card rather than fighting at the Apex?
No, I wanted to fight on the Apex. The person that they offered me on Seattle, I was like, hey, do you want to come over and fight on the Apex instead? Fight a week earlier. Um, but they said no, they would rather put it on Seattle. Um, but I wanted to fight at the Apex to use the PI and everything during fight week, and I just thought it would be fun. And I like the no crowd. Um, it adds a different element to it. Um, yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
So, but this hasn't been announced, like, right? Like, I didn't miss something before this interview, did I? Like,
No, I've had a couple of people ask me about it because when they posted the card, I wasn't on it. Um, but they haven't said anything about it. They haven't announced it yet. So there's an inside scoop for you.
okay, well, I'll be sure to get this out ASAP. As far as who they offered you for Seattle, can you tell me who that is?
I can tell you, but I don't want you to post it. Can you do that for me?
I can do that.
It's Adam Fugit.
Okay. All right. Do you know, is he going to accept it?
I believe he said yes. It's just a matter of getting the paperwork. So what happened was is I said yes, and I mean once they announce it, you can post this. The the I said yes. I asked like, hey, can we do it at the Apex? We both said yes, but can we do it at the Apex? He wanted to do it in Seattle, and they said Sean said no, it's got to be at Seattle. I was like, okay, whatever. It's not the end of the world. I haven't fought at the Apex in a while, anyways. Nothing new. Then um, and then so I said yes, but so I'm coaching right now, high school wrestling. The fight I was gonna miss one tournament, and the next week we have states, so it's a big tournament. And I just so then I went back and like, hey, what options? I felt guilty about it and whatnot, and like, what options do we have for March? So I kind of like took it off the table, like not confirmed it yet. Still like possible, but took away my confirmation. Um, and so I said, they're like, all right, well, probably won't have anything for March. We might be able to do April, May, but that's a might. That's a maybe. So after thinking about it, talking to my coach and whatnot, I was kind of like, okay, I shouldn't feel guilty about it, missing states because this is my career. And um, what's the fucking like? What we're gonna go another year without fighting? Um, like that sucks. So say yes and take this fight.
Is Adam a more challenging or difficult opponent than Nicolay would have been? Like, how does this differ stylistically?
So Adam's southpaw. Um, he doesn't hit as hard as Nicolay, that's for sure. They're both the same age, and they're both 36. 30 or Nicolay's 35, Adam's 36, so they're both old. Uh, not that old. They got 10 years on me. That's all. The They're both seasoned. I mean, they have a good amount of fights, but it's not like it's that much more than me. Like they've got like 3 fights more than me. Um, but they've been around for a while. Um, I think Adam has a better fight IQ, and he's more dangerous on the ground with submissions. Um, I think Nicolay hits a lot harder. Um, um, but he's not as dangerous on the ground. They both do trips, so it's like, all right, that's the same. I have to watch him, but Adam Fugit hit an inside trip on Morales, um, and um, and that's why I brought that up. Like Morales is he's a good fighter, but when he fought Fugit, it looked like he was kind of dogging it. And I was like, oh, if you're gonna dog it, then I could break you. Um, and Fugit was getting beat up, but he kept walking forward. Fugit's tough; like he's not gonna quit on himself. Um, but he's slow. He throws a lot of big kicks with nothing in front of him. So I think that's going to be easy to take advantage of. Um, he doesn't have the fastest hands, but he throws a good amount and he throws well. He throws good straight punches. I think it's going to be an easier fight on the feet and more dangerous on the ground. I got to watch for submissions and whatnot on the ground because he is good at grappling, and he's always got his wits about him. So at any point he could throw up an honest submission and it could be dangerous. Um, but I think it's physically an easier fight, but mentally, like I have to have a better fight IQ for this one than the other one.
Okay. And do you think there's a high chance that you finish him in this fight, or is this going to be maybe like another close dog fight like you had with Trey?
Mm-mm. Well, if I show up like a fucking asshole, um, then maybe it'll be a close fight. But it shouldn't have been a close fight with Trey. I should have put him out in the first. I don't see this being close. I don't think Adam is going to be able to keep up with me physically. I'm young, fast. I'm a lot faster than him, I think. Um, my cardio is fucking insane, and I'm strong as shit. Um, am I the strongest dude in the world? I mean, he's got 10 years on me, so he could be stronger than me in a certain way. Um, like I haven't even hit my prime physically yet, but the but I've never had a problem physically in the cage, even up at 85, um, and the so I think I'm gonna have the physical advantage. So with that and just fighting smart, and I think I'm better than him. I think my striking's better than his. My grappling is better than his. He's a brown belt. I'm a purple belt, but that doesn't really matter. Um, so it's just going to be. I think it's going to end up on the ground, and it's going to be a matter of, hey, can you stay smart on top and not get caught in a submission?
Okay.
I don't think he's going to put me out on the feet. There's no shot.
Fair enough. Well, I'm excited to see you back in there, man. Regardless of who the opponent is, like I said earlier, you're always must see TV. Billy, always a pleasure chatting with you, my man. Thank you for giving me some of your time today. Before we do officially sign off, if there's anything you want to plug, anyone you want to thank, floor is yours.
I should have taken a bite of food before I did this. Huge thank you to my sponsor, Nummy's Bakery. Always sponsor me year after year. Very just super consistent. I'm grateful for them. The best gluten-free bakery around. Um, and I've also got some merch on the way. So follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that jazz. Billiam Goff, and pay attention. I'm doing a giveaway before this next fight. Um, and yeah, appreciate my team. Appreciate your time. That's all I got.